I ask you, what would be the true measure of success for any enterprise, for any endeavor, for any activity? That is a metric that is relative to whom is asking the question, depending on their measure of success. Now, I can share with you, I do believe that I think that we can agree upon that one measure of success for this YouTube channel, this medium of communication that has been in operation continuously since the year 2021, where I have consistently offered media. Now, we're not going to get into the level of professionalism or the effectiveness or any of that stuff, any of those types of metrics, which sometimes depend upon a person's taste. Of course, there is the ultimate metric of measurement in a business enterprise from that perspective of monetization and such. Anyway, I offer to you, dear viewer, and in doing so, in offering this metric of success, I wish to make a point, perhaps a lesson, if I may be so bold, in that consistency, in that indefatigable, untiring devotion to offering, to sharing messages is ultimately a measure of success that everyone could agree upon. You can't argue with the fact that the Umbanda New Elohim Ashram, even though the name has changed, and all of that, superficial particulars, but what has not changed is the fire, is the same undiluted, unmitigated devotion and fire and commitment to sharing. But you have to ask yourself, and this is the lesson, this is the part that is the lesson, or the deliverable, the actionable intelligence. You have to ask yourself, what could possibly change a person? What could possibly have transpired in a person's life where they had been living their life 6 years in destruction, in a destructive mode, to overnight their life being changed and their reason for existence being changed, and then to begin to, for 5 years running, begin to get up and offer messages to people as best as they were able. What could that have been? What could that change have been, dear viewer? Ask yourself, what power, what force could affect such a change? Well, let's unpack this, because it does involve fire. It does involve force. It involves the God force, an extremely powerful energy that was released within me and has been unstoppable, has been burning, and only grows in refinement. The power itself, the initial power, the release, of course, that was the most dramatic event, the most dramatic happening. But since then, there has been a refinement, a precision based unfolding of this power. And the deliverable and the lesson is this. And I'm going to use a little bit of Vedic science terminology from Vedic science. But one transport of bhakti outruns a slow jnani. Now, bhakti, a term from Vedic science, yoga, if you will, is devotional, integrated, heart-based engagement, which led to this change in my life. Because it was devotional energy that I engaged with when I began to work with the mantra that I talked about from Sadhguru. But it was not even really knowing the words or what it was all about. All I read was the video thumbnail that this mantra would melt the human ego and merge it with the divine. And that happened. It released the divine within me, the divine energy of Kundalini, the Pentecostal fire. And jnani is the purely intellectual, analytical approach, which by and large, that was what I had been engaged in. You know, I would read about yoga and I would that, but I would then go on and live my animal life, endangering my mission, endangering my soul's chance at incarnation within this genetic vehicle to truly accomplish what it had agreed to do. But even, and this is what most people are caught up in, their slow intellect, reading about things, intellectualizing things, never engaging their full resources to approach the divine, to become the divine, to enter into the path of divinity and the refinement thereof, of bringing heaven to earth. But the slow intellect cannot match the dynamic force of embodied living devotion. So, what power, what force could it be that has consistently kept me getting up and sharing this message in whatever way, in whatever angle that I can conceive of, to convince you, dear viewer, to take hold of the flame and rise? The God force. Hit the subscribe button and leave this video a thumbs up, as it indicates to the algorithm that you too are ready to engage all of your resources and rise in the power of the God force. Namaste. Namaskaram.